More than 250 people move to Houston each day, and the population is estimated to exceed 7.1 million people very soon. So why are there so many people choosing to call Houston home? In this video, we're going to break down some of the pros and cons of living right here in the Space City. Make sure you stick around until the end. You aren't going to want to miss my number one for living here in Houston, Texas. Let's get to it. Howdy y'all, this is Austin Jackson with HTX Realty Group right here in Houston, Texas. If this is your first time to the Houston is Home channel and you're looking to learn everything there is to know about calling Houston, Texas home, you're in the right place. Make sure to tap that subscribe button and click the bell to make sure you are notified every time we do a new video. And don't forget, we're here to serve you if you're thinking about calling Houston home. Call us today. Let's talk about some pros, the cost of living here in Houston. This is one of the main reasons so many people are deciding to call Houston home. Living in Houston is much more affordable than living in any other major U.S. cities. Houston comes in 4% below the national average of the cost of living index. In general, Houston's cost of living is far lower than other major cities like New York or San Francisco. And no state income tax, you might find yourself with more money in the bank each month if you move to Houston. A study released by the Zebra in February 2020 also named Houston the city that gives you the most house for your dollar. However, one thing to keep in mind is that Houston is a very large city and housing prices will vary widely based on the neighborhood. In a big city like Houston, living close to work can save you money on gas and commute time, but it might cost you more in living expenses if you live closer to downtown or in some of the higher end neighborhoods. By some calculations, Houston is about 19% cheaper than Austin and 5% cheaper than Dallas for Texas cities. San Francisco is estimated to be 179% more expensive than Houston, while New York City is 94% more expensive. Some pros and cons in relation to the cost of living. Pros, house prices are less expensive than, say, Austin or Dallas. Another pro, energy costs are competitive due to fewer regulations than other states and even other cities in Texas like Austin. Con, you might pay more for insurance in Houston. Things like flood insurance, windstorm insurance are going to be additional expenses here in some Houston communities that you won't see in other parts of the country. Pro, there's no state income tax. Another con, there are relatively higher property taxes in Houston, ranging from 2% to 4% and a sales tax of over 8%. To learn more about the cost of living in Houston, check out our previous video below and for an in-depth look at what it costs to live here in Houston, Texas. Let us know in the comments below if you have a specific question regarding the cost of living here in Houston. We'd love the opportunity to answer that for you. With the rapidly growing population and increasing numbers of cars on the roadways in Houston, you're bound to run into traffic. Houstonians cite traffic as the biggest problem facing residents in the Houston area today. Before the pandemic, it was normal to have a 30-minute to an hour commute to work for most Houstonians, depending on where they chose to live or work. With being able to get more house for your money in the suburbs, many Houston residents choose the luxury of space and comfort at home over a quick commute to the office. Communities like the Woodlands, the Houston Bay Area, Sugarland, Pearland, Kingwood, and many other areas are popular places for people to call home. Be on the lookout for some more videos spotlighting some of these communities. If you're looking to be close to work in the downtown area, some areas to check out might be the Heights, Edo, or West U. Check out our video spotlighting these communities to learn more. We're seeing more and more people in 2020 make the move to the suburbs, with people being forced to work from home during the coronavirus pandemic. Not having to make a commute to the office is allowing people to move further out from the city limits and getting them more space in a larger home for less money. It'll be interesting to see what is to come once we start getting back to normal. Will companies continue to allow their employees to work from home or limit the time that they spend at the office? We shall see. Something positive that might come from the pandemic is a little less time in traffic for us Houstonians. Don't forget to check out our cost of living in Houston video. It includes some more information on some of the cost implications that traffic has on those that call Houston home. And a good resource for you to keep up to date on Houston traffic and what's going on in the Houston area is going to be the Houston Transtar website. Check out the link in the description below at traffic.houstontranstar.org. Next up, we're going to talk about construction. With traffic and a growing population comes construction. This is a pro and a con for sure. Con, this means that there's always road construction going on and it feels like it's never ending. I know if you've drove on I-45 for the past few years, you're going to be seeing it every single day. Pro, Houston is definitely investing heavily in their infrastructure for the years to come. With this comes jobs and other opportunities. Another big thing that people talk about in Houston is the weather. So what's the weather like in Houston? If you're looking to escape from the cold, Houston should be on your list, and that's going to be one of the top pros. The city is located in a subtropical zone, and its proximity to the Gulf of Mexico makes it for hot and humid summers. During the hottest month of the year, expect temperatures at about 95 degrees, sometimes getting over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In January, which is typically the coldest month of the year in Houston, you'll see temperatures at a comfortable 42 degrees. Every now and then we'll have some cold days, but don't expect it to last too long. And if we get some of those cold days where you might have a little bit of rain, expect the whole city to shut down because Houstonians cannot handle driving on wet roads or ice or anything like that. So be prepared for roads closed, all that type of things if we get an ice here in the Houston area. From October to early spring, you might get all 4 seasons in 1 week here in Houston. If you can deal with the heat for a few months, you'll love the weather the rest of the year, no doubt. Houston gets about 50 inches of rain each year, but the city's big weather concern is hurricane season, which lasts from June 1st to November 30th. Not all hurricanes are catastrophic, but not all storms need to be classified as hurricanes in order to cause major flooding and wind damage. When moving to Houston, it's going to be important to know the flood zones. The flood history in that specific area is going to be important, and make sure to reach out to us so we can share some of our insight and share some of the tools that we have of getting you this information. If you're looking for no hype weather information, make sure you check out Eric Berger with SpaceCity Weather. He gives you the facts and quality forecasts so you can make informed decisions about protecting your family, property, and business. And that's at spacecityweather.com. Houston's job market is also a huge selling point for the city. With jobs in oil and gas, aerospace, medical, and tech, Houston is a great option for engineers, scientists, and medical professionals. When most people think of top Texas industries, they think of oil and gas. And it's true. One of Houston's main industries is petrochemical. Thanks in part to the Port of Houston, which is a major hub for shipping oil, gas, and other goods in and out of the country. Houston is also home to the Texas Medical Center, the largest medical center in the world. Graduates from the world's most prestigious universities come to the Med Center for positions at many hospitals, including renowned MD Anderson Cancer Center, or to further their education at the Baylor College of Medicine, Texas Children's Hospital. All these other hospitals are here in the Houston area. The city also has a long history of technological innovation with NASA's Johnson Space Center, as well as being a corporate headquarters to more than 24 Fortune 500 companies. Houston is home to 2 airports. You've got Houston's Bush Intercontinental Airport, which is a major hub for United Airlines, which makes it a great place for people who work in or seeking employment in the airline industry. And we've got the Houston Hobby Airport, which is home to Southwest, is a major airline that flies out of the area. So we've got a lot of pilots and people that work in the airline industry that live in the Houston area, that work for those companies. Also, having those 2 major airports here in the Houston area, it's a great option for you to live here and be able to commute all across the world for your jobs and for different meetings or places that you're going to travel for work. The influx of young talent has also created an entrepreneurial environment in the greater Houston area. A new and thriving startup scene has emerged with co-working spaces ready to provide flexible office space for these entrepreneurs. The growing economy feeds into an overall positive atmosphere throughout the area. No city has a perfect economy, but Houston could be a good place for you to come if you've struggled to find a decent paying job elsewhere, along with what we talked about earlier, the cost of living and the affordability. No matter what industry you're in or industry that you're thinking about being in, there is an opportunity for you here in Houston. Some of those top industries include energy, aerospace and aviation, distribution, manufacturing, life sciences, or medical. That's a little bit about the job market and some of the pros that we have here in the Houston area around jobs and opportunities. Now for my number 1 pro for living here in Houston, Texas. For me, it's all about the food. I love to eat, and the Houston food scene is legendary. Considered one of the best foodie cities in the US, Houston has always produced excellent eats, but in recent years, the rest of the country and the world has finally started to take notice. Two culinary staples in H-Town are Tex-Mex and barbecue. Ask any local and you'll find strong opinions on where to find the best Mexican-inspired fare. However, my hands down favorite is going to be the original Ninfa's on Navigation. It's going to be a great place to start. This is one of my favorite Mexican food places here in the Houston area because of its rich history, their margaritas, their fajitas, their queso, everything you would want out of a Tex-Mex restaurant. They're going to have it, and it's going to be some of the best you'll ever have. Another popular food found in Houston is the barbecue. Everything from baby back ribs to slow smoked brisket, the city has no shortage of barbecue joints. Some of my favorite barbecue spots are Corkscrew in Old Town Spring, Killen's in Pearland, brought to you by the renowned chef Ronnie Killen, and Jackson Street Barbecue right by Minute Maid Park. Once you taste Texas brisket, you won't want anything else. Now, Tex-Mex and barbecue are the two staples, but you're going to have your choice of anything you want here in Houston. Houston is the most diverse city in the world, and if you like food from all over the world, you can get it right here in Houston, Texas. Now that we talked about my favorite, the food here in Houston, Texas, let's talk about some of the attractions and some of the things that you can enjoy while living here. Life in Houston, Texas is a unique blend of Texas traditions and a more modern city lifestyle. What makes Houston an ideal place to live are the various places to go and things to see and do, many of which you won't find in other cities. Everything from the museums, the arts, and the sports, Houston has it. You're going to have events for all ages. You can go check out the museum district. Well, you might need a car to get around most things in Houston. Once you go to the museum district, you won't need a car to explore this area. Museum fans can walk to different sections and visit up to 19 museums within a 12-block radius. Plus, every Thursday, most offer free admission. Then there's the theater district. This section of downtown has seen a lot of revitalization over the last decade, providing many residents with access to incredible shows in the handful of venues located here. One to check out is the Miller Outdoor Theater. And then you're going to have the Galleria. Didn't think a mall could be an attraction, right? The Galleria in Houston welcomes over 30 million visitors each year. With over 400 stores and restaurants, there's plenty to keep you occupied for hours, including the indoor ice skating rink. The Galleria isn't just your normal mall either. With over those 400 stores, you're going to have a lot of luxury type stores such as Louis Vuitton or some of those other high class stores. This next attraction we talked a little bit about in the job market, but you can go check out the Space Center Houston. Houston is home to the NASA Johnson Space Center, and while most residents can't visit NASA specifically, the Space Center Houston is a chance for visitors to learn more about its discoveries. You can also check out the downtown aquarium. Fish and underwater adventures aren't the only things you'll see at this aquarium. Enjoy the Houston skyline and their Ferris wheel, or visit their white tiger exhibit. Also, Houston's got one of the best zoos in the world, the Houston Zoo. With over 6,000 animals and insects on permanent display, this zoo is worth visiting more than once. Their mission is to help educate and change practices to preserve and protect wildlife. We talked a little bit about the museums, but I really want to focus on the Children's Museum if you've got little ones like myself. This museum is made for kids. With rotating exhibits and countless activities, it'll keep them entertained all while learning. If you're a sports fan, you are going to love living here in Houston. There are plenty of professional sports teams for you to cheer on or for you to root for your home team when they come visit him. Some teams include the Houston Rockets in the NBA, the Houston Texans in the NFL. Houston is also home to the 2017 MLB World Series champions, the Houston Astros. Other sports to think about are soccer with the Houston Dynamo and Dash, and then you've got your college sports as well. Houston is a great town to be a college fan to. Aside from professional sports, Houston is going to be a great town for that college fan too. With two hometown universities, Rice and the University of Houston, you can always catch a home game. And also, you're going to be a quick driving distance to some of the big-time universities here in the Texas area, from Texas A&M, just about 2 hours away from Houston, and to Austin, about 2 to 3 hours away, where the University of Texas is. High school sports is also a huge thing in Houston. If you head out to Katy or the Woodlands for some real-life Friday Night Lights, you're going to love it and see some real Texas football. Another big thing that happens once every year and pretty much the whole town partakes in is the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Sometimes living in Houston, you might forget you're in Texas, but for 20 days out of the year, Houstonians celebrate Texas heritage and culture at this livestock show and rodeo. You're going to have some of the biggest names in the music industry that are performing, also one of the largest rodeos in the world. People that have performed at the rodeo have even been from the likes of Elvis to Beyonce to some of my favorites like George Strait and Alan Jackson. Overall, Houston is a great place to call home, and people from all over are continuing to move here. This is just some of the many pros and cons of what you might experience calling Houston home. Have you made your decision to relocate to the Houston area? Don't forget, we can help you with making a move throughout the greater Houston area. We would love the opportunity to serve you and help you find your community right here in Houston, Texas. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified of our next video. And let us know in the comments what you would like to see us cover next. Thanks for watching. We want to help you call Houston home.